Hello and welcome to episode 94 of the HamCorp training manual. In this episode, we finish up the first low energy beamline and set up some parallelized assembly lines to make future Linux and synchrotrons faster to craft. After that, I procrastinate doing blood magic in Thaumcraft, heavily. We also set up the first industrial apiary to increase our Salus Mundus production rate. Okay, I have taught some more recipes to this setup. I've also checked how many cryogenic freezers I would need to keep up with this, and it's a lot. It's way more than I'm willing to make. So I've decided to just make a mega vacuum freezer instead. It takes 10 seconds per bucket of supercoolant. I have 256 parallels, so it takes 10 seconds for 256 buckets, also known as 25.6 buckets per second. That's not fast enough for this. Isn't that crazy? All 256 parallels of a mega vacuum freezer, not fast enough for this. Because the synchrotron uses 32 buckets per second, the LINAC uses length buckets per second, which is 19. So in total, I use 51 buckets per second of operation. So to actually be able to keep up with that coolant throughput, I need 2 mega vacuum freezers. And it's only going to go up because the more accelerators I add, the more freezers I need. That is the price for progress. So I'm gonna swap out this dual cryogenic setup with a dual vacuum freezer setup, which is crazy. And that should be fast enough to keep up with this initial setup. I need to make a quick trip to Proteus to set up another miner because I am out of infused gold. And I use infused gold in my fuel generation. I just wanted to show you this rocket blast off because now there's stuff on all sides of the launch pad and it just looks so cool. Don't know what happened to the audio though. Okay, beamline 1 has been completely and totally set up. All the recipes are in, the cooling is able to keep up. This is done. I do want to make the other 4, but these are really expensive because of the superconducting coils. And it's only going to get more expensive because all of the other beamlines need a longer LINAC. I mentioned last episode that I wanted to make more assembly lines because I only have the one. And I have 2 options for this. One of them is the component assembly line. This has a different set of recipes. It's only for the different GregTech components, but those are actually what my bottleneck is for this case, because I'm trying to make the LUV pumps and they just take forever. And I checked the input amounts here and it's significantly cheaper to make the pumps in this component assembly line compared to a regular assembly line. However, the component assembly line needs UV. So that means UV conveyor modules, UV robot arms. Also, the casings are quite expensive. These are the EV ones. I would need the LUV component assembly line casing. These are expensive, right? Each one of these is 10 pistons, 8 robot arms, 16 motors. I need 43 of them. On top of that, there's a big bunch of iridium that's going to be spent here. Also, I need the osmium reinforced borosilicate glass. Basically, it's very expensive, but I think it's worth it. So I will have to progress into UV to make this. So I guess we can do that today. But first, there is another option for the assembly line, which will make it faster, but it won't make it cheaper. And that is the advanced assembly line. Kind of is an assembly line with parallels, but it's a little weird in how it works. I don't fully understand it. I think it'll make more sense once I actually get my hands on it. But it's pretty cheap to upgrade an assembly line into an advanced assembly line. It just needs a LUV chest buffer and a bunch of circuits. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this assembly line where it is. Over here, I'm going to make a set of 4 advanced assembly lines. And I'm going to use those to make a component assembly line. But of course, that means progressing into UV. So let's take a quick look at what goes into UV before I make the advanced assembly line. So obviously, first I need to make the machine hull. And I looked at this before. This needs polybenzimidazole. It needs Naquata alloy wire. And it needs UV machine casings, which are made of osmium. UV motors need Naquadria, ouch, neutronium rounds, neutronium rings, neutronium rods, samarium rods, and americium wire. Ouch. This is a enormous giant ouch, because I am struggling with literally all of these materials. I don't think I really want to make more particle accelerators until I have this done, because these are very expensive. Also, I should probably move on from the tungsten rods and just go straight to lanthanum hexaboride. So I need to think about lanthanum as well. Too many things to work on. I think let's start with the 4 advanced assembly lines and parallelize them. I Should probably figure out how this works before making multiple of these. It's built the same way as a regular assembly line. So at this point, I think I can afford to make it just a full length, whatever, 16 long assembly line. So I'm just going to do that. I also changed my mind about leaving this assembly line here. I think I will move it. Then I can move this data bank and I don't have to make new scans of stuff. Plus it also frees up the space for another multi that I have put off for no good reason. The high current industrial arc furnace. This is the multi-block arc furnace, and it's just a box, which is slightly disappointing, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna get to work moving the data bank and the old assembler, or assembly line, I should say, to this shed. Yo, I've read up a little bit more about the advanced assembly line. I don't know if this is what I want. It doesn't seem to be quite what I want. I don't really understand the use case for this, to be honest. I think it's more for like a passive process than for on-demand crafting, but I'm not sure. I think I'll just put this in storage and I'll just make a few regular assembly lines instead. And then someone who knows how this thing works in detail, please explain this to me, because I don't really know. I don't get it. Another downside is that I can't overclock it to a higher voltage. So I can't do like a UV voltage with ZPM hatches in the advanced assembly line. So I do still need regular assembly lines as well. So I'm going to get some of those and then build them here and move the data bank. All right, everything is set up. These are a bunch of max-sized assembly lines, and I've hooked them up to the data bank, and I've also parallelized the recipes. And all I have to do is basically I have these two dual interfaces here. One of these is full, so I need the second one. But this is what's going to hold all the patterns. And then with my advanced memory card, I've linked them to output P2P tunnel ME dual interface. And this goes basically where the pattern holding interface went previously. So it's touching the dual interface, which is on the subnet of the assembly line. So it's kind of like, it's not really a P2P, not like the other P2Ps. It's not transporting anything. But I guess in a sense what it's transporting is the recipe. So each of the destination P2Ps has access to each of these recipes. So when I make a request, for example, 32 LUV motors, what ends up happening is it starts to split it between everything. You do have to have each destination P2P set up like this with regular blocking mode behavior, and do not push crafting items if inventory contains items. Otherwise, you get some weird interactions. I don't know how this is going to change once I have advanced assembly lines, but for now I'm pretty happy with this. 4 times as fast as what I used to get. Now, to continue to the component assembly line, I need to enter UV. And for this, I need a UV machine hull. Now that we are officially in UV, there's a couple of things we can do. I can make the ZPM circuit assembler. Apparently I haven't done that yet, which is a bit surprising, but okay, whatever. I can do admit it you love this part 1 in UV. I will admit it, I love it. That's just all of the components, and also part 2, which is the emitter and sensor. I can make UV superconducting wire. I'm sure I will need to, so I will. I can make cosmic neutronium ingots. These are made from compressing the nuggets, which are made from compressing piles of cosmic neutrons. And these I can get from centrifuging black plutonium. I can also get it from some stone dusts from planets later on. And of course, black plutonium, at the moment, I can only get from small ores, but I have a plan to deal with that. And finally, Kevlar. Everyone just does the B for Kevlar. I'm not doing that, bro. There's a processing line in the game, I'm doing it. So I will be making this Kevlar using the probably formerly intended method of using chemistry. And it's 52 steps, and literally no one can stop me from doing this. Except myself, maybe. I've also unlocked the elemental duplicator, which is the multi-block replicator. I don't think I'm going to bother with this one, at least not for some time. And there's also the matter fabrication CPU, which is the multi-block mass fabricator. I'm also not going to bother with this for some time. Most importantly, I've unlocked the component assembly line, now that I'm in UV, as I discussed before. And this I will be making. And while I do these parts, while I do the scans, and while I actually craft these parts with all of these different things, which are going to take probably forever to finish, I'm going to do something else. So as you can see, this uses Naquadria, which is also my main fuel source at the moment. Naquadria is a bit hard for me to source. Another issue, also related to my fuel, is that I am running out of nether stars. So I need to deal with both those things. For the nether stars, I have found a way, with the help of some employees, to increase my Salus Mundus production without having to do much, and that is the industrial apiary. It says this is a UV machine, but I think that's an upper limit, maybe, or something like that. I can use it without UV, is the point. But regardless, I am in UV, so I can do this. That one's pretty straightforward. Not much to talk about there, at least not yet. There are these upgrade thingies. I'll get to that when I get to that. More importantly, and more painfully for me, I need to upgrade my meteor summoning capabilities, which means I need to upgrade my orb, which means I need to upgrade my altar, which means I need blood-soaked icorium blocks, which means I need icorium, which means Thaumcraft, and it is not a small amount of Thaumcraft. So I am going to get to work doing research. Yes, I know. I know there's a block that does research for me, and I probably should build it. But I also have nothing better to do. I'm just waiting, so I'll just do some research. At least until I run out of materials or whatever aspects, and then then maybe I'll look at automating that as well. Back to the lab. So I didn't notice this before, but actually the multi-arc furnace comes in a few different sizes, and you want it to be as big as possible, because the number of parallels scales with the width of the multi-block, and it has to be a square, so basically it scales with the side length. This is the maximum size, so I'm just going to make the biggest one. It's kind of goofy looking, but that's fine. I've also finished all of the scans of the UV parts, so I can start crafting them. But of course, I have other issues. I don't have these materials in large enough quantities. I also don't have gravistars, which I need for the sensor and emitter. And those need quantum stars and neutronium, and quantum stars are, of course, nether stars. So I have to solve my nether star problem. That's just going to be the apiary, industrial apiary, so I'll be right back with that. But I just want to say, I have drawn up the entire flowchart for Kevlar. It's not that bad. Everyone's like, oh, just make the bee, you can skip the whole Kevlar line. Shit, just fucking spawn in a Stargate, skip the whole game. Arc furnace is done. Very nice. Now, I did say I was interested in lanthanum hexaboride, but I think that can wait a little bit longer. I am currently in my bee building, because to make the industrial apiary, I need woven silk, which comes from silk wisps, which comes from bees. Specifically, I can get them from wispy bees, which I don't have, or I can get them from centrifuging silky propolis. I had a little bit, so I have some silk wisp, but not enough. And to get more silky propolis, I need to centrifuge silky combs, and silky combs come from bees. And I thought I might have some laying around, but I don't. But I also am kind of not in the mood to do bees. I don't want to breed bees right now. So what I'm going to do instead is there's a quest that could give me silk wisps as a reward. And I haven't done this quest, and it's to make the dark armor from Ender.io, I want to say, and to upgrade it using vibrant crystals. At this point, this is pretty cheap, I think, for me. And this is ancient. This is like an HV quest. Well, I guess technically it's in the without dying quest line. So I need to make some dark armor, I need to upgrade it, and I don't know what else I can do with dark armor, if it's any good for me. But I also kind of don't care, because I have quantum suit, so it's a little too late for me to give a shit about this. So I'm going to get my silk wisps, and I'm going to make my industrial apiary. And I also mentioned before that there are these upgrades, these acceleration upgrades. Still not totally sure how they work, but I think I can make this second best one. So this one, the 128 times. It uses a ZPM world accelerator in the recipe, which is the only reason I can't make the best one, because that uses a UV one. But I still need to fully understand how these upgrades work. So let me craft up all of this shit, and then I will explain it all. It's empowered, but the quest isn't finished. I guess it might need to be fully charged. Hold on. Yes, indeed. Damn it. Foiled once again. The pollen that I have doesn't work for this. So for this craft, I need one of basically 100 different types of pollen. And the 2 types of pollen I have don't work. I don't know what these pollens are then. Like, how do I get these pollens? Okay, I think I found it. So in this part of the B quest line, the Gendustry part, if I go to Diamondware and then Pollen Collection Kit, this is how I get my first pollen, I think. I am not going to make enough to finish these quests because I want to do this later on. So the Pollen Collection Kit is some paper, string, genetic slabware, which is diamond plates, steel rings, and molten glass. Pretty easy. Now, I'm not sure how this Pollen Collection Kit actually works. I think I'm supposed to right-click some leaves. Alright. Pretty easy, apple oak pollen. Now, hopefully this works in the recipe. Let me try. Looks like it was a success. Nice. Which means industrial apiary. Okay, I have my apiary. I have my 128x acceleration upgrade. It says maximum installed 1, but I have 6 because when you craft it, it makes 6. So that's nice for the future. And I have a Tesla coil cover to power this thing. Let's see how this works. So my upgrade goes into one of these 4 upgrade slots, and I guess these would be the output slots. And let me grab this queen and put her inside. I guess it just processes the queen like a GregTech machine, and it basically just makes a bunch of combs, as expected. So I do have to do a little bit of routing to bring the princess back into the slot to be turned back into a queen. Because right now I just have to do it by hand. But then it just processes her immediately, so that's pretty nice. And this seems way faster than the alveary. Let's see. So the effective production is b to the 0.52 times 7.67. And in the alveary, I believe it was a bit higher, b to the 0.52 times 8.797. But it is obviously processing them much, much slower. So this is strictly an upgrade. And very nice, very compact, and it's Greggy, so that's kind of a plus. It's a GregTech machine. I understand GregTech machines. Cool. Okay, I've set up my automation. Hopefully this works. I do want to eventually stop relying on the Tesla cover, but for now this is fine. And basically what I have set up here is auto output. So it auto outputs into this frame drawer. So all of the combs are going to go in here. And as for the bees themselves, once they process, which is taking forever because I think I started it before putting in the upgrade. Whoops. Well, that's going to be 20 minutes. But okay, so when it's done, what it should do is dump the combs into the drawers. And then here I have a conduit leading to a trash can. And I have the princess blacklisted on the trash can with negative priority. So this will be the last possible destination for the princess, or for anything except the princess. And on this side, I have self-feed enabled. I have extract and insert with priority 1. And I have allowed only the Salus princess and the Salus drone. So what's going to happen is the princess is going to get extracted. And the first thing it's going to check is itself. And the princess is allowed in there, so it goes back in. The drone is going to get extracted. First thing it's going to check is this way, and it's allowed, so it goes back in. But if it happens to be full, then the drone gets sent to the trash can. Alright, well, now I have to wait because of my monumental fuck-up. But I think my Salus production should be solved, and my Nether Star should come in a lot faster. Now, I've done a bunch of random shit just because I've been putting off doing magic, but I can't put it off any longer. It's time for another magic arc, starting next episode. Thank you for watching this episode of the HamCorp Training Manual. In the next episode, we start working on obtaining Icorium, with the ultimate goal of upgrading to the next Blood Orb so I can summon higher tier meteors. My Naquadria use will not be sustainable until this is done, and I could maybe start getting Nether Star ore this way as well. As all great corporations say, the ends justify the means, so I will partake in more magic content. Great. Enjoy. See you next time.